Hello, and thank you everyone for joining us for the webinar this evening. We will be getting started in just a couple of minutes as we allow students to trickle in. While we wait for a few final students to be able to join us, please feel free to share with us in the chat where you're joining us from today. We do have students registered from all over the world for this webinar, including across Canada, from China, India, Pakistan, Saudi Arabia, Trinidad and Tobago, the UAE, the United Kingdom, as well as the United States. We'd love to hear where you are joining us from, and we're so glad that you're able to join us today. So please feel free to share in the chat where you're joining from. We'll get started in just a couple of minutes, but feel free to share in the chat where you are joining us from today. Maybe I can just get a thumbs up from my team if you can see my slides properly. Perfect. Okay, so it looks like we've got a good group on our webinar. So we will jump into our official webinar for this evening. Thank you again for joining us wherever it is that you're joining us from. Please note that during this webinar, it's not possible to unmute yourself or to turn your video on. If you do have questions for us, please use the Q&A function and not the chat. Closed captioning is enabled for this webinar, so you're welcome to turn that on if you'd like to follow along. And this webinar is being recorded. You can request a copy of the recording by emailing us at mathinfo@uwaterloo.ca, and we'd be happy to share a copy of the recording. Before we get started, we want to first acknowledge that the Faculty of Math at the University of Waterloo and much of our work takes place on the traditional territory of the neutral Anishinaabe and Haudenosaunee people. Our main campus is situated on the Haldimand Track, the land granted to the Six Nations that includes 6 miles on each side of the Grand River. And once again, welcome and congratulations on your offer to be a Mathie at the University of Waterloo. It's just after 7:30 p.m. in Waterloo, Ontario, and we want to welcome you from wherever you're joining us from today. I want to start by introducing myself and my colleagues joining on the webinar. My name is Amelia Burton, and I'm one of the undergraduate recruitment and admission officers for the Faculty of Math, and I'll be your host for the webinar today. I'm happy to be joined by my recruitment colleagues who will be answering your questions in the Q&A. They'll be posting important links in the chat and answering all of your questions in the Q&A throughout the webinar. So once again, welcome to our webinar, How to Succeed in Computer Science with Jeff Avery. We know that the past 2 years have been challenging for all of us. High schools and universities have moved to virtual learning and then back to in-person. Exams have been canceled or delayed. Extracurricular activities had to move online and then back to in-person. And amidst all of these changes, you're preparing to start the next journey in your education. So possibly moving to a new city, a new province, or even a new country for the first time. You may have a lot of questions about the next steps or what life would look like at Waterloo. We hope the webinar today will help you get prepared to start your studies with Waterloo's Faculty of Math in September. In just a few minutes, I'll be introducing you to Jeff, who will be leading our webinar today. I know that Jeff will be giving you lots of great tips throughout the presentation, but you may have a question that's not covered in the material, so please feel free to ask that question in the Q&A, and my colleagues will be happy to get the answer for you. Don't forget to use the Q&A box instead of the chat so we don't miss your question. Before I pass it along to Jeff, I want to cover some important facts about Waterloo, the Faculty of Math, and the School of Computer Science that is important for you to keep in mind. Waterloo was established in 1957 and is ranked one of the top universities in Canada on scholarly research and publications, hands-on experiential learning, and partnerships with employers. Waterloo has 6 faculties, 12 faculty-based schools, 4 affiliated and federated institutions, and over 100 buildings on a 1,000-acre campus. But don't worry, you won't have to walk across the 1,000 acres to get to your classes. Most things on campus are only a maximum 10 to 15-minute walk. All of this makes us one of the largest universities in Canada, with over 42,000 students in undergraduate and graduate programs, over 7,100 active co-op employers, and more than 227,000 alumni in 151 countries around the world. Waterloo has so much to offer students as you take the next step in your educational journey. The Faculty of Math at Waterloo is a powerhouse of discovery and innovation. As North America's only dedicated Faculty of Math, we make world-leading contributions and create and attract industry leaders. With $29 million of research funding, 260 full-time professors, and more than 8,600 undergraduate and graduate students with 45 different programs, 500 courses, and 44,000 alumni in 108 countries. We're one of the largest faculty of math in the world. And large can sometimes sound scary, but for us, large means you have a lot of choice in the courses you take and the experiences that you have as a math student at Waterloo. So if you're someone that's excited about math and computer science, you'll definitely be able to find your community here. Housed within Waterloo, the Faculty of Math and the Sheridan School of Computer Science had its origin as the Department of Applied Analysis and Computer Science, founded in 1967, and has since grown to become the largest academic computer science research center in Canada. The Sheridan School of Computer Science is named after David R. Sheridan, who received his master's degree and doctorate from Waterloo in the 1970s. The renaming was in acknowledgement of Sheridan's $25 million investment in the school in 2005. Ranked among the top 25 computer science schools in the world, the Sheridan School of Computer Science brings together more than 100 faculty members, 60 administrative instructors and technical staff, and over 4,000 undergraduate students and 400 graduate students. Waterloo is ranked #1 for computer science for the second year in a row, based on program and research reputation, according to Maclean's 2022 University Computer Science rankings, and among the top 25 internationally for computer science, according to the QS Worldwide University Subject Rankings. Nationally and internationally recognized faculty make up all of those that will be teaching our students in the School of Computer Science. Sheridan School of Computer Science is home to 8 fellows of the Royal Society of Canada, 7 fellows for the Association for Computing Machinery, 7 fellows of the Institute of Electrical and Electronics Engineers, 3 Canada Research Chairs, and 16 Ontario Early Research Award winners. The Sheridan School of Computer Science undergrad alumni excel in graduate programs around the world, are sought after by tech giants, innovative startups, and small and medium-sized enterprises. Sheridan undergrads have founded multi-million-dollar companies, among them Wish and Maluba. There's a lot to offer students starting their studies in the Sheridan School of Computer Science at Waterloo. I'd now like to introduce you to Dr. Jeff Avery. Jeff Avery is a lecturer in the Sheridan School of Computer Science, where he teaches undergrad software development and design courses. His area of research is in the field of human-computer interaction, specifically in the area of assessing and improving input and interaction technologies. Outside of the classroom, he serves as an undergrad advisor for the computer science program, and he enjoys interacting with students at hackathons, design competitions, and recruiting events. Jeff will be starting off with a formal presentation, and then we'll move to open up to your questions. Please feel free to ask your questions in the Q&A throughout the presentation or during the Q&A period. We have lots of students joining us today, so we want to make sure to get to all of your questions. My colleagues will be answering them in the Q&A, so thanks to all of them for being here to support you today. And of course, thanks, Jeff, for spending time with us to answer some of our students' questions as they prepare to start their education at Waterloo. So I'll stop sharing my screen and officially pass things over to you, Jeff.
Thanks, Amelia. I just have to pull up my screen here. All right. So welcome, everybody. Thanks for the introduction, Amelia. I really appreciate it. My name is Jeff Avery. As she's pointed out, I'm a faculty member in the Sheridan School of Computer Science, and I'm also an undergraduate advisor, which means I'm often the person that you're going to be talking to if you accept the offer and come and join us. There's a large number of advisors like myself who teach and then have service responsibilities as well, and we spend a great deal of time working with undergrads. So I'm pleased to be here. So we've got a lot to talk about. I'll do my best to sort of give you a bit of a broad coverage and a broad sense of some of the services and things that I think you need to be aware of that will help you in your time here. So these are sort of the themes we're gonna talk through. Things that I think you should focus on to be successful. The first is the notion of really orienting yourself with the university, with the campus, with the services that they have available. So I'm sure you've already done this, and you will have already done this as prospective mathies at UW, but there's a lot of really good information online, and there's tons of information to be gleaned by actually maneuvering around the campus, getting to know the campus, getting to know the people, and sort of exploring what we have to offer. Secondly, the other theme that we're going to talk through a little bit is this idea of student supports. There's a lot of people like myself, academic advisors, and so on that are available to help you. And I would encourage you to seek us out and look for us, because we're literally here to do what we can to make your experience the best it can be. Similarly, you're going to want to build your networks, because it's not just staff and academic advisors that are here to help you. You're going to have instructors, professors, TAs, course staff that are all here as well to help you with your courses and your studies. And finally, I've got some tips at the end that we'll talk through on suggestions and how you might be successful academically. All right, so let's talk a little bit about your first year. So there's going to be some differences depending on how you enter the program. Specifically, I was thinking here in terms of people that are coming into CS. So if you're admitted into computer science, you're going to be in one of 4 programs coming in. The majority of students are going to be in what I'm referring to as the flexible program. That's the BCS, or the standard computer science degree, either co-op or regular. And as well, we also have structured programs. That's the double degree, the BBA computer science degree with Laurier, or the CFM program, Computing and Financial Management, or Software Engineering. These are all affiliated with computer science as well. We call them structured and refer to them as structured because they have more prescribed courses and a more prescribed path through the degrees, because clearly they've got professional designations associated with them or other requirements associated with them. So we'll explore these in a little bit of detail, but just keep this in mind as I'm talking. I'll try to address both sides and all of the different types of programs as we're talking. So in your first term of your first year, you're all going to have very similar courses coming in. And this is actually the same for anybody entering the Faculty of Math. It doesn't matter if you're honors math or CS or CFM or any of those degrees, you're going to have a very, very similar course structure. So to start with, everybody's going to take a computer science course. Being in computer science, I think this is marvelous. The course may vary. So there's a couple different courses. The usual path is either CS 115 or 135. If you're in software engineering, you've actually got your own stream of courses that are slightly tailored to SE. So you'll have SE 137, for instance. And then you'll take an algebra and a calculus course, typically math 135 and 137. And those are the 3 core math courses you're going to be taking coming in your first term. And as well, for a typical math student or CS student, you'll have 5 courses as sort of a regular course load, which means you're going to also take a communications course in your first term and some elective, which can be practically anything. As part of your degree, you're going to find that you're going to be expected to take courses outside of math. Not a lot, but usually 10 courses, which includes communication and other things you might be interested in. So think of it as an opportunity to explore areas that overlap with CS or that you might find interesting to pursue. And there's lots of opportunity for you to do interesting things that way. If you're one of the structured programs, instead of these courses, you may have these courses plus maybe a couple of extra courses that are more tailored to your program. Typically, the double degree and SE, for instance, have a slightly increased course load compared to CS. So you'll find you may have additional courses as well. So a common question that everybody asks is, why so much math, right? I thought I was coming here for computer science. Well, the School of Computer Science is associated with the Faculty of Mathematics. It's placed within the Faculty of Mathematics. And that's not happenstance. We firmly believe that math is a very strong foundation for the study of computer science. Frankly, it's one of the biggest strengths of our program. So we'd like everybody to start it the same way, because this provides you with a very solid foundation for the skills you're going to need to be successful in computer science. This includes problem-solving skills, the ability to deconstruct problems, optimize for efficiency and effectiveness, and all the critical thinking skills, frankly, that you're going to need, that you will leverage in later courses. The other course that people often wonder about is communications. Why am I taking communications? I thought I was done with that in high school, right? And the truth is that it doesn't matter what you're going to do, what field you're going to go into, you will find that communication is a key skill. Whether you're a mathematician, a computer scientist, a software engineer, a professor, it doesn't really matter. You're going to need to work with people. You're going to need to communicate effectively. Sometimes do presentations, sometimes give talks, sometimes write papers. So employers and people within the faculty, we've all sort of agreed that in principle, we want our students to have a really, really strong foundation. And this is true for all the departments on campus. So everybody takes a communications course. There's actually 2 you're going to need for your degree. That's about all I want to say for your first term. Okay, so again, foundational courses in math and CS for everybody, a communications course, and typically an elective. I'm not going to talk about your second term, because your second term is actually a mirror of this one. You're going to take the second CS course, the second algebra, the second calculus, right, and so on. But I do want to jump ahead a little bit and talk about your second year, because this is when things get a little more interesting and a number of different options will open up for you. So if you're in computer science, when you enter your second year is about the time you can consider doing something like adding a specialization to your program. So what a specialization is you can think of it as a focus for your electives. You'll have 15 core CS courses, some core math courses, but you'll have about 15 electives as well that you're free to sort of pick and choose different courses. Some students will use that as an opportunity to take things outside of computer science. Other people will refocus and take extra computer science courses. So what a specialization reflects really is you taking the core courses plus a few extra CS courses to focus on a particular subject area or research area. So we have specializations in AI, bioinformatics, business, computational fine arts, digital hardware, which overlaps with electrical and computer engineering, HCI, which is my field, software engineering. These are all areas you can choose to specialize in. It's not required, but it's available to you if you wish to do that. We also have a data science program. You can think of this as a parallel degree to a computer science degree. It shares the same core CS courses as the CS degree does, but it also includes a lot more math, a lot more statistics than you would normally take as a CS student. So that's available as well. You have to apply to transfer in second year, but that's also available as an option for people that are interested in data science. Other things you might consider doing, you might consider doubling up your degree. You can actually combine a computer science degree with another degree in math and do multiple degrees at the same time. If you're super ambitious, you can even do 3, but it gets to be a little bit much in terms of the number of courses you might want to take. We also have other things like minors or options, which are outside of math, which might be other degrees. So for instance, you could add a minor to your degree in history or physics or something else you find interesting. So the structure programs, I haven't forgotten about you, double degree in CFM and software engineering. What you'll find is it's a little bit difficult to combine these with specializations. CFM and SE have, basically you've got so many courses that you have to sort of fit in with these structure programs. It's often difficult to combine them with specializations, but there are specializations specific to SE that you're able to take. And double degree students will often, for instance, take business as a specialization. So there's lots of things you can do, okay, to sort of expand on and customize your degree to really narrow down what you want to study. So just to give you a bit of a taste of the courses you're going to be doing and some of the things you'll be studying, the courses on the left are the core computer science courses. These are the ones I was referring to as the core courses that everyone takes. Logic and computation, software development courses like object-oriented programming and data structures, things like algorithms, operating systems. These are sort of the core core courses to the curriculum. And as well, there's a large number of optional courses. I think we have something like 60 extra courses in third year and above that you can choose from as extra courses that you can take. You'll have to take some number, say 6 of them, but I think what you will find is practically any research area you are interested in pursuing in computer science, we have at least one course within that area. And in some cases, we have multiple courses. So for instance, if you want to do AI, we have AI and multiple machine learning courses and so on within that domain. And specialized programs, this is to give you a sense of some of the courses you're going to be pursuing. Again, these structured programs or specialized programs already have a lot of extra goodness baked into them, right? So data science, for instance, you've got a large number of statistics courses for building linear models, doing inference, and so on. CFM, you've obviously got finance courses and other stats courses as well. BBA, BCS, you're going to have a large number of business courses as well as things like combinatorics and optimization. And software engineering, yeah, you've got a staggeringly large list. As anybody will know who was looking at SE or who may have been accepted for SE, you have obviously core computer science courses, core math courses, but you also have engineering specific courses. You have courses in physics, chemistry, and so on. So there's quite a lot to cover there for you. All right, I know that's a bit of a whirlwind, but it's hard to cover all that in the short time we have. So I'd like to go on a little bit and start talking a little bit about some of my recommendations for you to be successful when you're here. So the first thing I'd like to suggest is after you've gotten on campus and you've oriented yourself a little bit, kind of gotten to know where things are, you should probably talk to an academic advisor. Certainly in your first term here, you should try to talk to one of us. What we can do for you is we can help you figure out your academic plan, what it is that you want to accomplish in your time here. We can help you figure out courses, pick courses, give you advice on whether you should add a course or drop a course if you're struggling with something. And I like to think about it as we're here to help you understand what your options are. I sort of skimmed over all the different possibilities for your degree, but I can't emphasize that enough. There are a lot of different opportunities for you here to study what you're interested in and to tailor your experience to what you want it to be. And I think of us as faculty and staff members who are here to help you figure out how to do that. So please take advantage of that. We're more than happy to help you. In terms of the number of advisors, we have a lot of advisors. There's obviously advisors for every program within mathematics. Computer science is particularly large at Waterloo, so we have 9 dedicated CS advisors, 2 double degree advisors, 1 CFM program advisor, and 1 SE program advisor as well. The second thing you're going to want to do is meet course staff. And by that, I mean the people that you're taking courses with. This is going to be new to you, right? This is a new experience in terms of how things run. Typically, you're going to find that your classes will consist of lectures. There's some interaction within classes, but often faculty members and course staff will make themselves available outside of class as well. So if you're having problems, if you have questions, you can track them down and meet them at different times. So you'll find office hours, for instance, where professors in their office just to answer your questions. You'll also find tutorials, which you'll be scheduled for your classes. They're listed as optional. Don't treat them as optional. You should really go because you'll often get extra help, extra problem help in math. And I think these are really, really core things for you to take advantage of if you want to be successful. As well, we have drop-in centers. We have math and CS tutorial centers, a CS consulting center where you can just drop in at any time and get help. Third thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to network. You're going to want to meet people outside of your classroom. So it's not all about academics, right? It's about connecting with people, meeting people, and engaging with one another. So in terms of clubs and other opportunities, there's a huge number. Many of these are student-run and student-managed. So for instance, MathSoc is the Math Society of Students. There's at least 10 clubs run through MathSoc for different interests, including a computer science club, anime club, that kind of stuff. We have large groups of women in math and women in computer science, which represent those groups of people who are sort of rooted in computer science and want to sort of meet like-minded people. And I would encourage you to reach out. They're very active. They have a lot of events, and it's a really, really good group of people to connect with. Like I mentioned, some of the drop-in centers, we have IT support and so on that you could drop in and talk to. We also have mentorship programs, and we have programs for pairing up students with other students. So there's ways that we can help you get engaged. Outside of that, there's lots of other opportunities as well. There's not enough time to do more than just list them, right? But in your later years, you'll find that we have a large number of exchange programs. We're affiliated with different universities around the world. You can spend a term and go and study at a different university and get credit for your degree here. I would encourage you to look into that. There's some pretty amazing places you can visit. We have other things like a computer science capstone, which is a fourth-year design project where you can form a design team, work together. I often get involved in those. We have academic research assistantships. If you're research oriented or would like an opportunity to do research with professors, there's programs specifically in place to pair you up. Again, this isn't for first term. This is something you would do more in your third year to get you directly involved in academic research, especially useful if you're interested in grad school. So lots of things going on here. It's a very, very busy place in CS and math. Finally, I should just mention, just so you're aware that there's a lot of university-run services here as well. For instance, we have our own health and medical services. We have counseling services available on campus if you need them. And we have an accessibility office. So accessibility is dedicated to providing equal access to everybody. Specifically, if you need an accommodation, like an academic accommodation for some reason, they're the people you should talk to. If you had an accommodation in high school, for instance, I would strongly, strongly advocate for you to go and talk to them and register. They can make small changes or large changes to your curriculum, right? Depending on what you might require, just to make sure that we level the playing field for you and have a good opportunity to succeed here. Lots of other things. We have academics. We have athletics and recreation. We have student-run clubs and services. There's all kinds of ways for you to connect. Okay, I'm going to try to hurry along here so we have lots of time for questions. My last little bit of advice, though, for you is learn to plan your time accordingly. Now, I suspect I don't have to drill this into you too much because you're all fantastic students, frankly. For you to have an offer means that you're amazing students. And we're thrilled to have you here, considering coming to study with us. But you're going to find that study habits become even more critical when you get to university. Because what you'll find when you start getting in your classes is you will probably feel a little bit overwhelmed, especially at first, because there's a lot of lectures to attend, and there's a lot of studying that needs to be done outside of class time as well, right? So, you can plan for about 15 hours of lectures roughly per week, which sounds great. 15 hours, that leaves me with all this free time. And you need to dedicate some of that time to studying, right? So if you have 15 hours in lectures, you should probably plan on something like 25 hours of studying outside of lectures. The general rule of thumb is every hour in class, you should spend an hour studying. I would add a couple extra hours on that for things like assignments that are going to be given to you. So, and a lot of what you're going to have to manage is, frankly, just structuring your time to make sure that you get things done. So my practical advice to you is figure out a system and figure out a system early. I habitually put things in calendars. My calendar's packed with stuff because I literally put everything that I have to do on a daily basis there, but I don't miss things. I never forget things because of that, right? So figure out a system that's going to work for you and allow you to keep track of what you need to do and plan your time through the day, block off time to study, make sure you give yourself the appropriate time, okay? Finally, figure out a learning space, right? Figure out what's going to work for you if you need a dedicated space. There are lots of spaces on campus in the library and different places where you can go to study. So again, that's something you should probably figure out in your first week or two when you're here. And my other little bit of advice, go to lectures. This seems like the obvious advice to people, right? But there's nobody here that's going to breathe down your neck and make sure you go to lectures. You are free to not go, but you will have a very hard time doing well if you don't go. So I would strongly suggest that you plan on going to lectures, go to the tutorials, take notes, and really try to engage. I think you'll find it much easier than trying to do it on your own. So that's pretty much it. Just one more slide to sort of wrap up. This, I guess, is my last little bit of practical advice to you on what you should do this summer, because people always want to know, what do I do in the summer before I come to university? What should I be studying? We do have some resources if you want to study. If you go to cemc.uwaterloo.ca, there's lots of things there that you can engage with in terms of math and computer science. There's lots of resources if you want to do that. We also have an optional course, Methyl 99, which is basically a math prep course. So if you're feeling a little rusty, you would like to sort of review some math concepts, you can register for that course. I'd encourage you to take a look at it. It's not a credit course. It's not going to count for your degree, but it's going to help you if you feel that you want to have a review and be in really good shape when you start with this. Finally, participate in Waterloo Ready. You should be aware of that and should have been informed about that. I suppose you can look at your resume for co-op, but you will have lots of time to do that when you get here. My biggest bit of advice, honestly, is if you want to study a little bit, sure, but take some time for yourself. You're going to be busy for the next 4 years, so spend time with friends, spend time with family, and prepare yourself for the big changes that are to come when you arrive. That's everything from me. Thank you all very much. I'm more than happy to answer any questions you have. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jeff, for sharing all of that great information. Definitely helpful information to keep in mind. And that kind of final piece you gave about preparing over the next couple of months, I know we get that question a lot, so that's really helpful resources. When you were speaking about the interconnectedness between math and computer science, there were 2 comments in the chat that I thought that you might enjoy. One student responded to what you were sharing and said that computers are just rocks we tricked into doing math. And then we also saw a follow-up to that. Another student added by trapping lightning in them.
I love it.
So yes, definitely resonating with what you're sharing and that connection between math and computer science. So we do have a couple of questions, and I know you covered some of this information, but just to kind of reiterate some of the pieces that you've mentioned. One student was asking the difference between taking CS 115 and 135 other than the course material. Are CS students obligated to take 135 after taking 115?
Right. So thank you for asking that question. That's an important question for me to cover. So basically, there's 2 first-year computer science courses that you would regularly take. There's CS 135 and 136, so you would take those in your first and second terms. However, sometimes people are coming here and they might not have really done a lot of computer science before, and they might want to slow it down a little bit at the beginning because the courses are fairly fast-paced. So what you can do instead of 135 and 136 is you can take 115, which is the same material but slightly slower format, and 116 as a follow-up, and then 136. So you would have basically 3 first-year CS courses that way instead of taking 2. It's purely optional. It's purely at your discretion. But it's an available path for you. So what I usually suggest to people is sign up for 135 and plan on 135. Because if you get here in the first few weeks and then you decide, oh, this isn't for me, I'd maybe like to consider 115. We can actually switch you in your first term. It's the only time in your career we'll allow you to do this. We'll move you between courses, though, for the first, I believe, about 5 weeks of the term even, we'll do it for you. So that's about it. You don't lose anything by going the 115, 116 path. All it does is offsets one of your courses by 1 term, and then you catch up by about 2B.
And so just as a follow-up, again, related to those courses, a student was wondering the level of difficulty of CS 145. And if they decide to take that, should they then take CS 146 or CS 136 after?
Yeah, that's a great question too. I'd say if you really want to take 145, go for it. And the decision to take, you aren't bound though to take 146, right? So you might find that you take 145 and go, that was great, but it chewed up too much of my time. I'd rather not. And you can sort of step down and take 136 after that if you want. You're not obliged to one path or the other. And one doesn't necessarily tie to the other one, right? So you can mix those up in any way you want. I don't know if that helps.
Yeah, and another kind of follow-up, this is going back to talking about getting prepared over the summer and making sure the students have all of the resources that they need before they start their classes. A student was wondering, should they be learning Racket before starting the first semester?
Really great question. So it's not necessary. I should probably talk about this in general terms. So the program here is designed with no expectations around you knowing anything about computer science. We assume that you're strong mathematically. Well, you should be. You have the math marks to back it up, right? Because that's how we admit you. So we know you're strong mathematically, but we don't assume that anybody has any background in computer science. So when you come into 135 or 115, we're going to start at the very beginning with Racket, and we're going to walk through as though you've never seen it before. So if you want to play around with it, absolutely. Will it get you ahead? Sure. But it's not necessary. It's not required. So please don't feel that you need to do that to be able to do well in the program.
And so going back to, you were speaking about the different majors that students can add in math along with computer science. And students were wondering, can they do a double major in math along with computer science?
Yes, you can actually combine most degrees within math. So you can do computer science plus PMath, combinatorics, applied math, statistics, pick any math degree basically.
And is it possible then for students to, some of those specializations that are available, can they still do a double major with some of those specializations within computer science?
Um, you can, we have to be a little bit careful when we start combining things because there are some combinations that are not allowed, but not very many. So generally speaking, yes, you can pick a CS degree with a specialization and add a second major in another area of mathematics. Generally speaking, yes, you're free to do that. What you'll find is that we're happy to have you do it, but you only have sort of 15 extra courses above and beyond the core computer science courses. And to meet another degree, those courses have to go somewhere, right? So very, very quickly, when you add in a second major, those math courses are going to take up the majority of your electives. So what you will find is it's a little tricky doing a CS degree plus another math degree plus a specialization still within the same time frame. You may find that you find yourself having to add an extra term or two on the end to make everything fit. But that's something we can help you figure out. Certainly, you can do two majors in the same time frame or a major and a specialization in the same time frame. After that, it gets a little bit, more nebulous, and we'd have to sit down and actually work through the details with you.
And I know we talk a lot about having lots of different options and choices for students with so many different courses to choose from, specializations, possibly combining with a major in math. When you were talking about kind of finding the right fit for how to study for a student, do you have any advice for not maybe picking something too early and getting the chance to really try out some of the different courses that are available once they're a student at Waterloo to help kind of determine what areas they might want to go into or maybe explore things that they haven't considered before?
So advice on how to do that?
Yeah.
That's really hard because I'm one of these people that I did multiple undergraduate degrees and I did multiple minors and I tried to do everything. And it's hard because there's a lot that's interesting, right? So my advice is explore your options early on with your electives. So one thing that I didn't talk about is there's actually a breadth and depth requirement within our electives, where within computer science, this is strictly a computer science thing. We require you to take courses in humanities and social sciences and some science. So you have to take a variety of courses. So practically speaking, that's a good way to think about how you can explore different areas that interest you. In your first year, you're going to have to take something in one of those areas. So pick something that may be interesting to you that you might want to pursue. Because the other requirement we have for electives is you have to do depth in one area outside of computer science and math. So of all the electives that you take, you have to take 3 courses in one of those areas. So if you think you might be interested in physics, take a physics course as your first elective. If you then go, yeah, no, that wasn't for me, but at least I can check off the science part of my degree, right? Next time I'm going to try music. We have students that do choir. I'm going to try choir, right? Maybe that's my thing, or maybe not. And you can sort of work through your electives in that way and explore things and try things out. There's also, again, lots of clubs you can engage with if you just want to get a sense of, is this something I'm interested in? That's what, networking and events and things are for as well.
I think that's great advice. And one student just had a follow-up for the non-math courses that students are required to take as part of their CS degree. Does that include optional CS courses?
No, because CS courses are always considered math courses. So the 10 non-math are not math, not CS. They have to be social sciences or humanities or science courses. Your two communications courses count, by the way, as 2 of those 10. So it's not as onerous as it sounds.
And one student was wondering, is it possible or recommended to skip courses if they feel they're familiar with the material?
Different institutions have different approaches to how they manage this, right? Broadly speaking, we don't like you skipping courses. Because as much as you think you might understand the material, you probably don't understand the breadth and depth of the material that we're going to cover. There's specifics that we want you to get out of the course that you may or may not get on your own. So we feel very strongly that we want you to stick with our curriculum. Having said that, by the time you hit your 3A term, the beginning of your third year, you're done the required courses. At that point, it's basically wide open. It's, yes, you need 6 more CS courses, but you get to pick whichever ones you want to take. So I think there's still lots of opportunity for you to customize and sort of take courses that you like and skip things you don't want to like or don't want to take. But we're pretty picky that we want you to have that core foundation to get to that point in our program.
And now focusing on data science, there was a question from a student asking, is it true that the entry for data science program is not as competitive for CS students compared to honors math? And is there a limit for that program for data science major or the
Sure.
AI specialization?
Okay. So I'll try to untangle those because they're actually different answers for different specializations. So I mentioned a large number of our specializations, right? We have business and AI and HCI and so on. Most specializations have no entrance requirements. If you're a CS student, you can just add them. Until fairly recently, AI used to be competitive. It's not competitive anymore. We recently opened it up so anybody who wants to be an AI can be an AI. We can just handle the capacity in our courses at this point, right? The only ones left that are competitive, digital hardware is competitive, but mostly because we need to slot you into engineering courses in first year, so we require you to apply. That's about it, though. The specializations, otherwise, you can just add. Data science is different because it's actually a degree. It's not a specialization of the BCS. It's a separate degree. You will graduate with a Bachelor of Computer Science and Data Science. That's the formal name of that degree. You do have to apply, but you have to already be a CS student to get into data science. So the question of, is it easier to get in from math or CS is not, it doesn't really apply in this case, right? Because you cannot transfer from math directly into data science. You would have to, actually, we'll let you try, but what we actually do behind the scenes is we assess you for CS. And if we accept you into CS, then we assess you a second time for data science, right? So that's practically how that ends up working. In terms of capacity for, well, because the specializations are open, there are no capacity issues with the specializations. Data science, we have a relatively small number every term that we admit, but we admit probably 90% of the people that apply at this point in time get admitted. And the ones that don't get admitted often is because they're missing the core statistics course we want them to take. They don't meet the requirements to get in, right? So it's not, if you're interested in data science, there's a very, very good chance you'll be able to get into the data science degree.
And this is another great reason why it's important to talk to your advisors to make sure you've got the requirements. So if you're interested in a certain major or specialization, you're very sure on what you need to take to fulfill those requirements. There's 2 questions related to the Laurier Business and Computer Science double degree. One question, I'll start with this one first, is if a student has their home base as Laurier, do they still have access to the advisors at Waterloo for computer science?
Yes, you absolutely do. You have access to all of us, although you do have 2 dedicated double degree advisors here that you can talk to, regardless of whether you're based in Waterloo or Laurier, you can talk to our advisors here. And it sort of makes sense that way because the Laurier advisors don't know much about our computer science courses, right? And vice versa. So you need advisors on both sides in both schools to be able to handle that. So yes, absolutely.
And then another related question to the double degree, a student was asking if they were admitted into the Laurier home base double degree, are they able to transfer into Waterloo just CS co-op?
So if you accept an offer in the double degree, you have to stay in double degree for at least 1 year. So you have to do 2 full terms and be in good standing at the end of that. After 2 terms, you can apply to transfer to single degree, either business at Laurier or CS at Waterloo. That's possible. However, you do not get co-op if you do that. You can transfer, and once you're here, you can apply for co-op. But realistically, there's not a lot of open co-op spots. Not a lot of people drop co-op. So our co-op program is typically at capacity, so it's very difficult for us to sort of add students after the fact. It's possible, but I wouldn't really count on it. If you're a Laurier-based double degree, I would very much think of that as that's your path and that's your degree, right? And make sure you're going to be happy with that as a solution.
And I know there was just a final piece to this question, and just to clarify for the student asking, if your home base is Laurier, as Jeff mentioned, all of your co-op would be done through Laurier, if that's your home base. So I know you had asked kind of at the end of that part of your question, would you have access to Waterloo co-op employees as a Laurier-based student? The answer is no. You would do all of your co-op through Laurier directly, if that's your home base. So switching gears a little bit, there was a question around research. So if a student is looking to work as a grad research assistant, or sorry, undergrad research assistant with a professor, as a computer science student, do they have the ability to work with computer engineering professors, or kind of working in the engineering discipline as a CS student?
That's a great question. The answer is maybe. so the official answer is that different faculties have programs set up for their students to do research. So typically we have, I mentioned the URA program in computer science. You have to be a computer science student to apply through that program. Likewise, engineering has similar programs in place for their students. I do not believe that you can go to a different faculty and apply through their programs. However, I know of at least one case recently where we had an engineering student who wanted to work with a professor in CS who wanted to work with them, and they came to some kind of an arrangement. So it's possible, but it's probably not something that the department or the School of Computer Science is going to help you facilitate, right? If you ended up knowing someone and working with them and they wanted to hire you, that's probably something that could happen, but it would be sort of an independent deal. The programs, though, are definitely set up to encourage collaboration within the computer science department.
Right, right. And I know there's a question about whether there's any contests or anything that they have to do as a computer science student. And I'm not quite sure what they're asking here, but I think kind of the important thing to focus on is kind of what Jeff shared as some of the things that you can do to prepare over the next couple of months. That would include that Methyl 99 course, the courseware through the CEMC. And again, it's not a requirement for the courseware, but that might be an option if you're looking to brush up on certain topics before you start your studies in September. But there's no kind of required contest that you would need to do over the next couple of months.
No, you don't need to do like lead code or something crazy. You enjoy your summer, spend time with your friends and family. Honestly, that's what we recommend.
Exactly. It's going to be an adjustment coming into university, so we want to make sure that you get that time to relax before you start your studies. And okay, so the next question, and we're going back to the double degree. Are CS and BBA double degree students able to choose an additional minor?
Yes, that's not an issue at all. I think the biggest challenge for double degree students is fitting things in. You're effectively trying to do 2 full degrees. I mean, somebody doing a second degree in the Faculty of Math, you're not really doing 2 full degrees. I know it's probably hard to pull that out of the conversation, right? But if you think about a CS degree as being core computer science courses, core math courses, and electives, if you take another math degree and slap it over top of that, well, the math courses already line up, the electives line up. So there's just the extra courses that you have to take, right? So it's sort of like 2 majors in math is sort of like doing a degree and a half, maybe at most. Double degree students, you're in the interesting position of doing 2 completely different degrees with 2 completely different subject areas. So you're literally doubling up your courses. So what you will find is that it's difficult to fit anything else in. It's difficult to fit a minor in. Can it be done? Absolutely. But that's something you would want to sit down and work through with your double degree advisor, and you would probably have to plan it out carefully to make sure you get the right courses at the right time.
And definitely a common theme we're hearing again and again is the importance of talking to your advisors. And I know that's
Please talk to us. We're here to help you. And it's much easier in first year than fourth year to make
yeah.
some of these changes.
And I know sometimes students say that they find it intimidating as they're adjusting to university, but as you can tell, the advisors at Waterloo are really eager to help, and they're here to help you get the most out of your degree too. So that's
Yeah.
why it's an
So,
emphasis. So
absolutely. Some of them are grumpy like me. Most of them are much friendlier than I am and much more engaging. So you'll have a great time.
So there's a question going back to something we talked about a little bit ago, and talking about how to choose courses. So the student is wondering, would you recommend centering course choices around your ideal career path or your personal interest?
So, okay. So a couple thoughts. The first one is you've got time to figure this out because you don't have a lot of ability to choose different paths, different course paths for the first couple of years. Like your CS courses are your CS courses. So take that as an opportunity and take co-op if you're in co-op, and I hope you are. If you have the opportunity to do co-op, do it. Because one of the values in co-op is that you can go out and start exploring different things as well, right? And you can try different career paths, try different jobs and see what works and doesn't work for you. When it comes to picking courses, though, I strongly lean into take what interests you. Because you won't actually know what opportunities are there until you learn a lot more about an area. So if you're pursuing something you're interested in and passionate about, there will be opportunities for you. I guarantee it. You cannot get a computer science degree and graduate and not have 1,000 different opportunities. That's literally the world we live in right now. So chase what you're interested in and what you're passionate about. And then you're going to get something in the end that you're going to enjoy doing and enjoy engaging with. There's nothing more unsatisfying than chasing a career and getting to it and realizing that's not anything you're really interested in doing. So don't do that to yourself.
I think that's great advice. And there's a couple of follow-up questions from some double degree students that have their home base as Waterloo. So there are a couple of questions asking if they start their studies and realize that business is not for them and they are already home base at Waterloo, want to move just into computer science. Is that a possibility?
Yes, that's even easier than the other situation we described, right? If you're already based in Waterloo, your co-op's in Waterloo, and you drop from double degree to single computer science degree, single BCS, that's easy. Again, you apply for it after you've completed 2 terms, but it's not an issue. And in that case, you would keep co-op.
And I know that the different course codes kind of correspond to when students are taking them and what years. So a student was wondering if they were in year 2 or year 3, are they still allowed to take some year 1 courses? So if they had an interest in Econ 101, can they take
Sure.
that in 2nd and 3rd year?
You absolutely can. You're not constrained by that. Think of it as a guideline for your major only. When you start looking at electives, it's very normal, especially when you're looking at breadth, right? You're taking electives across a number of different disciplines. You're probably going to be taking a lot of 1XX courses. So that's perfectly fine. You probably don't want to do that in computer science, though. You don't want to be taking CS 100 in your 4th year. We actually won't let you do that. At that point, you could teach CS 100, so we won't let you take it.
And just kind of along the same lines as the elective question, a student is just kind of confirming. So they know, based on what you kind of shared, that they need to take at least 3 electives with 1 in each of the following: humanities, social sciences, pure sciences. They're wondering kind of how many of these do you need to pursue and how deeply?
So, right. So every course at the university is categorized as a humanities, which is an arts course, basically, social sciences, which includes things like geography, psychology, anthropology, and science and pure and applied science. Science being the traditional sciences, I guess, biology, chemistry, physics, those types of courses, pure and applied, including all the basic sciences plus engineering courses. So this is a hard thing to display without writing on a board or something. So in terms of our requirements, we're requiring 2 humanities, 2 social sciences, and one of each type of science. So that's 6 courses you need as electives. Those could be in 6 completely different areas. They could be 100 level courses in each one of those. That would be fine. So that's 6 of your electives outside of math. You also need depth, which implies 3 courses in one area. So best case, take one of those and then add 2 more courses, one of those areas, and then take 2 more courses in the same area. So that would be 8 courses, 8 of your electives. Plus your 2 communications covers your 10 non-math courses. Okay. I'm not sure now if I answered the question. Was that the entire question, Amelia?
Yeah. And I think
okay.
that the last piece was how deeply, and I think you did answer that, because it could be a variety of different types of courses that students are taking. It doesn't have to
It
be
could be.
the same identical course. So I think how
Right.
deeply you go into the subjects depends on your interest and whether you want to pursue those subjects further.
Exactly. And some people do. I mean, we have people that decide they love physics. I mean, that's not an unusual thing for somebody who likes math, right? And they'll take 6 or 7 physics courses because there's room to do that. Outside of the 10, non-math courses, there's extra electives for you to take courses. So you can take extra electives if you want. And you can choose to go deep. You can do a minor even in another area outside of math or CS, right? It's quite common.
And the student just responded and said that was really helpful. So thank you.
Good.
We have just 4 minutes remaining. So I just have a couple of final questions for you before we wrap up the webinar. I know that our recruitment team is busily answering all of the questions in the Q&A. If there's something you think of after we end the webinar today that we're not able to get to, you have the email address on the screen right now, mathinfo@uwaterloo.ca. We'd be more than happy to follow up and answer any other questions that we might not get to during the webinar today. So just as a couple final questions for the few minutes that we have remaining, there was one student that was looking at the differences between computer science and software engineering and is wondering what you would say would be the significant advantage of one area versus the other.
Okay. Great questions tonight. So a lot of the same goals. So CS and SE are aligned in a lot of ways, and they share a lot of the same goals. And if you're to look at them in terms of outcomes, in terms of what you're likely to do as a career path, they're similar, or they can be similar. A lot of the time, if you're a CS student, you're fighting with software engineers for the same co-op jobs, for example. So what are the big differences between them? Well, software engineering is, first of all, it's a professional degree, it's a professional designation. So there's a lot of requirements and constraints on that program in terms of the courses that you have to take. So you will find that you have to take things outside of computer science that you may question why you're taking them. For instance, chemistry. There's courses like that just seem a little bit odd, but again, that's that professional designation, right? So you're going to find that the SC degree is very streamlined. There's not a great deal of flexibility in what you take. You're told what to take at what time. You can decide if that's a good or bad thing, but that's sort of the nature of that program. One advantage of that structure, though, is that you're going through the same courses all the way through with the same group of people. So we talk about cohorts of students in engineering. The cohort is your year. If you join software engineering in fall 22, those are the friends you're going to make, and you are taking courses together all the way through your degree. So there's lots of advantages to having a consistent group of people that go through the courses together. I'd say that's probably the biggest advantage of SE. It's not even what you're going to learn or the courses, it's the fact that you've got this sort of consistent group of people going through. The biggest advantage I think we have in CS is the flexibility of the program. There's only about half of the courses that you have to take for the degree are prescribed, and the rest you literally pick. And you can do whatever you want with them. There's a small number of electives, as we talked about, but you can take an extra 10 CS courses if that's what you want to do. You can take an extra math degree if that's what you want to do. You can do a history minor if that's what you want to do. Like, it's literally up to you how you want that to work. The downside is that because of the way our co-op system works is we don't have cohorts in CS, because you might be on one co-op sequence and your friend might be on a different one. So you may miss each other every other term or something like that. So you will still see some people that you own every course, of course, but it's not going to be this consistent group of people in every section of every course. So that's sort of the pros and cons of each. I think they both have their strengths, very much so, and they're both very successful programs. But I think when people, for instance, leave SE and come to CS, it's usually the flexibility that's motivating them to move.
And I think that's a great thing to keep in mind. And often when we're asked from students about which program should they select, sometimes even reading the course descriptions to see what might sound interesting to you as well might be another great option. And I know there was a follow-up from what we were chatting about earlier about how do you choose what minors or specializations to do if you want to do a little bit of everything. And I think sometimes speaking to your advisor, asking for that support, looking at course descriptions, all of these would be some good areas that you can help to explore what you might want to pursue once you're a student at Waterloo.
Absolutely.
So the final question that we will end with is a student. You were talking about kind of once you get to your final year, you might want to be able to support some of your first year courses. So a student was wondering what the process for applying to TAing courses might look like. What does that timeline look like? When would they be able to do that?
Sure. So um, these are really good questions. So yeah, that's a little bit of a tricky thing. We have TAs for most of our courses. That's a normal thing. Most TA positions actually go to grad students. So people doing their master's, their PhD, that's actually a source of funding for them to help them live while they're doing their degree, right? So, but there's some courses where we need a large number of TAs, like CS 246, object-oriented development. For instance, we hire TAs and ISAs every term. Usually we want you to have taken the course and been successful in the course first. So usually it's about third year before we start allowing people to apply. And then what happens is we have sort of internal postings, internal job postings that go up. You're able to apply directly for those specific courses where we hire.
Perfect. And
That's about it.
I missed one question. So I lied when I said there was
Sure.
only one left. One student was wondering if they are doing a double major as a computer science student and adding a math major, what are they actually graduating with? What is their degree that they get on their diploma?
So to graduate with multiple math majors, you have to do a bachelor's in mathematics. So you would not do a BCS, it would be a B math in whatever sub areas. So it would be a bachelor of mathematics in computer science and pure math, for instance. And you decide what order you want them in based on the order you add them. So you can flip it around. I don't know why you ever would. CS should always be first. But but yes, it's a bachelor of mathematics.
Perfect. Well, it looks like those are all the questions that we have for you, Jeff. I know there's just a couple of final questions in the Q&A that our team is going to finish answering, but that is all of the questions that we have that we'll do live today. Jeff, thank you again so much for your time this evening to answer all of these great questions. We definitely had a lot of great interaction with over 100 students joining us this evening. So thank you so much for your time. And if, as I mentioned previously, if you have any follow-up questions that you didn't get a chance to ask today, or you think of some great questions after we officially end this webinar, don't hesitate to follow up with us. We're very happy to answer any of those additional questions that you might have. So we have one final question that my team will answer in the chat, but Jeff, again, thank you so much. We'll let you go for the evening.
All right. Thank you. Thanks, everybody. Hope to see you in the fall.
Thank you. Okay, so it looks like we are going to wrap up. Thank you again so much for joining us for this webinar today. If you would like a copy of the recording, don't hesitate to email us at mathinfo@uwaterloo.ca, and we're happy to share a recording with you. Thank you so much and enjoy the rest of your evening or morning, depending on the time of day for you. Thank you.